The world has been in a downward spiral since 2020, so much that it feels like we're living in the end times predicted in the Bible. 2021 came in and paved the way with shows like Arcane and Mushoku Tensei, but I will say that this year, anime fans have been eating even better. You don't need me to tell you that this was one hell of a year for anime. For the past few years, we've been mentioning how much better anime is in the current year than it was with previous years, but I feel like this year had too many good shows. I won't talk about Ranking of Kings because it started in 2021, and so would any anime I've not seen, unfortunately, like Made in Abyss and To Your Eternity. But yeah, just assume if I saw it, they'll be in the top 6. 2022 was the year of returns. Devil is a part-timer finally got another season, which keeps raising hopes for No Game No Life. Shield Hero and Mid Hero came back in pretty underwhelming ways for me. Like, this arc in My Hero was one of the most hyped, but I just seem to be very tired of the show in general. Classroom of the Elite got a season 2 after 5 years, only for the animators to leave the wrong layer on top. Komi is still not talking. Shikamori is not just a cutie. And Attack on Titan is taking longer to reach its destination than Kaneki in Tokyo Ghoul season 2. We got an Isekai Overlord clone in Skeleton Knight, but the best thing for me about it was the opening, which was the one sec. Sorry about that. Love After World Domination was a pretty interesting show about star-crossed lovers, but like with Power Rangers. It was really good for me when it came out, but I just kind of forgot about it. I just remembered today by writing the script that this was a thing. Isekai Oji-san came out showing that we should not lose hope yet in the isekai genre. It's showing the isekai world from a different angle that we really haven't seen before. Shows like Soso no Fieren and I'm Quitting Hero show life after the defeat of the Demon King, but here we get to see what happens in the life that was originally lost. But somehow he still has his abilities from that world and he puts it to good use. No, he doesn't. It's not a dark take on the premise and it shines through by being lighthearted and innovative. Speaking of innovative, World's End Harem showed how to speedrun dropping an anime by introducing me to one of the most insufferable protagonists in a while. What do you mean you won't save the world by slipping all these women? Now what if that woman used to be your homie?
I'll take dick up the ass all the way.
Life with an Ordinary Guy Who Reincarnated into a Total Fantasy Knockout is a show that really tests the sexuality of the main characters. It's kinda like a race against time to get home before you reach the place of no return with your homie. More Than a Married Couple But Not Lovers is one of those shows that you really can't explain why you like.
こういうこと、私で考えたの？どういう時に考えたの？
I asked myself why, but I just can't put my finger on it. Now, Call of the Night was an amazing show that romanticized the idea of vampires and insomnia in the beginning. Then in the last episode, they showed our next season is going to be insane in regards to the actual stakes, so maybe it will be top 10 next season. Shinobi no Itoki had the worst looking ninjas I've ever seen, and your boy Kwangming really found a way to make history interesting by relating strategies to things we're already used to seeing the results of. After watching it, I ended up doing research, which I've forgotten now, but I did it. In the world of movies, we got One Piece film Red. It was advertised as a Shanks movie, but it turned out to be a musical about his daughter. I'm not mad though, cause I got about 5 new songs added to my playlist from it. The movie hit all the right spots and lived up to the quality we expect from One Piece. The story was able to live up to the sadness we know One Piece backstories for, and just the marketing where Shanks made it break all the movie records for the franchise. But even with all this, when I went to the cinema, I ended up being the only one there on NA release weekend. Jujutsu Kaisen showed us basically the original version of the story he created with a whole new protagonist, Yuta Okotsu. I'd say it's a brave move because people love Itadori and Megumi, but other fan favorites like Gojo and Maki were able to break the internet in their own way. Maki did a split and Gojo memed on a black man. Oh, and Odd Taxi released an extended cut. A Dragon Ball superhero brought back an old antagonist group in an attempt to, to be honest, I don't know what they wanted to do with this. It was an easy skip for me. But there's always one author whose work I can never skip, and that's Makoto Shinkai, the genius behind Your Name, Voices of a Distant Star, and Guardian of Words. He released another world-ending movie, Suzume no Tojimari. With each anime movie release, my one biggest regret is that I don't live in Japan, so I have to wait almost a year to watch movies that release. However, there was this 12-minute preview for the movie that hurt me even more because I wanted to see it so bad. Whether this movie will take over Kimi no Na wa for me yet is to be seen. Alright, let's go. Stone Ocean is an anime that's taught anime fans a vital lesson that no matter how critically acclaimed or beloved your story is, if in the hands of the wrong corporation, any and all hype and momentum will be killed before given a chance to breathe. Which is a big shame because season 5 was a big turning point for the JoJo franchise as a whole. I personally always tend to forget what stands do right after the season ends because 1, there's a lot of them, and 2, some of them get too specific and weird. Even though it's not my favorite JoJo part, I did really like the cast of characters a lot more than I thought I would. Just for the sake of it being JoJo, it has to be on this list. When you become a seasoned anime watcher, there comes a time where you get worried about being given the same rinse and repeat shows to watch, but I think authors find a way around it. You just need to play a game. Put a bunch of words on 2 wheels and create a story based off where the dart falls. It looks like this author landed on Maids and Yakuza. In any other year, Akiba Maidwa would have been more of a smashing hit. It's about cute girls that work in a cafe and shoot people away. This show managed to not only give one banger of an opening, but we build connections with the maids through all the violence. We see stories of people who are in a job they clearly hate, others that are living life the way they are due to insecurities they can't seem to overcome, and one of my favorite girls this season, Ranko. This show, even after 12 episodes, was still so weird for me to wrap my head around. Like anytime there was a maid meeting, you could be sure shit was gonna go left. Added to the fact that the way dead people was drawn was kinda eerie, but regardless, it was still a banger this year. Every year, it seems like a new isekai gimmick gets invented. Does the world seem to be tired of reincarnated people, or are characters self-aware of all the isekai tropes, so it allows them to break the fourth wall with usually silly jokes? This year with Eminence, the gimmick is that Sid the protagonist is just a professional bullshitter. He says anything that comes into his mind first regarding the world they live in and the enemies they have to defeat called the Cult of Diablos, but the twist is everything he says is actually true, but he don't know that. Sid wanted to be a shadow overlord and created an organization, Shadow Garden, that does things they want. They live by their own moral code and do not conform to society. However, I love this show this season and it feels like an isekai that just hooks you with how zany it all is. The comedy might be the most alluring factor because it takes coincidences to a new level and honestly just sets up so many possibilities for a protagonist that jumped in front of a truck and died because he thought they were holy lights. The animation is fire, isn't it? Marin Kitagawa took the world by storm when she first appeared. Even now when you ask the question who's the best waifu, she may definitely be in everyone's top 3. But it wasn't just the looks or the well-timed animation shots. It was the fact that she was a supportive waifu, and well, the looks as well. The hook for this show was Marin, but that's usually not enough to give a lasting impression. What usually does that is the characters that surround the titular one, especially Gojo. Gojo and Marin together form a pair that usually only exists in movies or if he's rich. Marin is a character that can do a lot of things except the one thing she's most passionate about. Gojo, however, has been ridiculed for the one thing he's most passionate about. They each have something that will help the other, and it's great that their connection is not dragged out to create crazy interactions. However, because they gel so well, the crazy interactions and sense of jealousy makes a lot of sense. They make each other whole, being that they're almost complete opposites. But he doesn't feel like a self-insert character that I've seen many people describe him as. I would say he's a hot cake. He's calm, pretty tall, and console. Look how well that worked for Taki. There's something about an anime that teaches you to embrace yourself no matter your passion that sits well with me. We went from no one ever talking about football anime seriously to everyone talking about it and saying anime is real because Japan took out fucking Spain and Germany in the World Cup. Now I didn't put these shows together because I think they're the same, but individually I don't think they would be this high. But thinking of them together makes up for what the other lacks. Blue Lock broke the norm of other sports manga by doing what we expect but in a twisted way. Instead of the players using teamwork as a way to move forward as a team, it's more of a way to reach their own personal goals. Anyone who doesn't evolve gets left behind literally, and their career in football just dies. Awashi, on the other hand, is about a boy who loves everything related to being a striker. The thrill, the fans, the glory, everything. It's a role he loves to play and is the reason he left home to join the youth team. He's the one person I can see totally itching to join the Blue Lock project. That is, until his coach says he's not fit to be a striker and has to be a full-back defender. Ew. Awashi is a sports manga akin to Haikyuu, whereas there are a lot of emotional beats and more off-the-pitch developments that affect the games. Relationships are built and developed by the players on and off the pitch, and we're made to understand who they are and what they've sacrificed in life for the sport. It has a more realistic feel to it, especially during the training arcs Ash still goes through. It's great when you play a sport and you watch a show that teaches people what you already know. It gives you a better appreciation for it. So while Aashi serves to make me excited for conversations at a bus stop in the rain, Blue Lock just gives a pure adrenaline boost because it feels like those players want to kill each other. CGDCT is a term I saw recently in a comment on my video, and I had to scratch my head a bit to figure out what it meant. I thought it was, a new way people define themselves, but it's cute girls doing cute things. And that's exactly what this show is. Bocchi the Rock shows a different side to the struggles of a person with social anxiety that somehow wants to be a rock star. It's a music anime that uses performances to show how much better Bocchi is at doing what she wants to do in her mind. She starts with little things like teaching someone the guitar or selling drinks at a bar, club type thing, or maybe it's her just taking a risk playing in the street. But each time she does that, the anime is able to convey how hard it is for her. So much that you start to root for her and her dream. The show conveys each of the main characters well by showing how well they contrast with each other. You can clearly see that Nijika and Kita are outgoing, but they don't feel like the same person. Ryu and Bocchi are loners, but the type of loners they are serve to highlight their different personalities. One is a loner by choice, except when it's time to pick up a bill. But that's why I think this show made it so high for me, because I was half expecting to just be half-ass animation and relationships all for the sake of CGDCT, but it didn't do that. Somehow it ended up being one of the most expressive and creative anime on this list and in 2022 in general. A1 Pictures is one of those studios that you don't even need to check the homework for because you know they got it all right. The magicians who brought us gems like Fate Apocrypha, Kaguya-sama, 86 and 7.
Don't ever fix your lips to say that, bro.
The government has sponsored a secret all-female task force made up of orphans that take out criminals and terrorists. And our protagonists that are part of that organization are Chisato and Takina, two girls that see the world differently based on their circumstances. Takina being an uptight superb marksman and Chisato being the superhuman bundle of joy. See, Chisato has a Sharingan and can see the trajectory of bullets, but what's probably even more impressive is that she has the reaction speed to dodge them. Am I really power scaling right now? This show is not solely carried by the cute girls. They're pretty important, but it's carried by the amazing dynamic characters, the banging music, the wholesomeness, and the brilliant fight direction. I haven't seen too many good gun-based anime, but even I can tell that the way fights are illustrated in this show is way above normal. Pair that with the OSTs, and this show managed to give us scenes that literally shock you the first time you see them because of how good they are. But when you love the characters on the screen, everything is that much better. Chisato and Takina have this unbelievable chemistry that the show is able to thrive on. Gon thought he had the best rock paper scissors scene in anime, but this moment is by far the best. God damn, that's cute. They kissed. What? Now, just like with JoJo, we have yet another anime that's suffering just because the wrong corporation had the rights to it. Summertime Render is a sci-fi story full of suspense and mystery that grips you right from the start. It's not a show that starts off lighthearted and then tricks you into laughing before the fear creeps in, because from the get-go, we follow Shinpei, who's going back to his hometown because his childhood friend and crush died. Shinpei hasn't been back in over 2 years, but upon his return, he starts to uncover strange beings and occurrences that threaten everyone he loves. It's a pretty fun time travel story that, despite the trauma that Tokyo Revengers gave me for dropping the ball, was able to let me immerse myself in it. Each episode shows events from a different angle. Each angle gives a new piece of information that we weren't privy to before, and each new angle comes with new twists that slowly affect the characters and you for watching the show. It feels like the author and the directors understand mystery and horror. Trying to incite a feeling of fear or impending doom in the viewer takes a lot more effort than simply showing a scary face, and that's one of the many ways this anime excels. It's honestly one of those shows that only a rewatch can make you fully, truly understand the sequence of events well enough to explain it to someone. Once in a while, there comes a show that literally takes over the internet. Pictures, music, video games, there's absolutely no escape. And for good reason. It was that good, but even more than that, it was completely unexpected to be even remotely good. The hype and failure of the Cyberpunk 2022 game made everyone skeptical of anything Cyberpunk related because the fear of T-poses was real. However, the anime managed to revamp the image of the whole franchise in basically one weekend. A show that collectively brought everyone together for the love of it that I can only compare to when Arcane released. I just finished it last week. Fucking amazing show. An anime produced by Studio Trigger that's known for their batshit crazy animation was also, well, batshit crazy. It was a completely unpredictable show just bursting with creativity from the team that worked on it. All the fights, the scenes with cyber psychosis, that one episode with Main that completely turned the show around, and the music were all just simply phenomenal. The music tracks in this show were apparently made up of some of the ones from the game and a few ones, but since the show came out, listening to the in-game tracks feels different. The one song that me and I'm sure everyone else didn't get enough of was I Really Want to Stay at Your House. It's a song that would generally be a banger, but when paired with the moments that it was used in the anime, it gives some sort of depression because you remember how much Lucy suffered. It reminds me of the quote, "A dreamer is one who can only find his way by moonlight, and his punishment is that he sees the dawn before the rest of the world." It's a quote that quite encapsulates Lucy in a way. She had a dream to leave the earth and her troubles behind, and she fought for it. Finding your way by moonlight can be a way of saying you find your way by avoiding troubles or the harshness of reality, and seeing the dawn is when that harsh reality catches up to you. Edge Runners was only 10 episodes long, but in that time it was able to introduce a big cast of characters and make at least one of them relatable to someone. You can relate to David, the kid that feels he has to carry the world to make people proud of their sacrifices for him, or Lucy, a girl who wants to be alone not because she hates people, but because she loves hard and always tends to lose people close to her. Or even Main, the man's man who despite his brash attitude would risk his life and everything he is for those he deems family. From the get-go, you get the feeling that no one is safe. Even with all that, all the deaths are brutal, and the fact that this damn animation studio made me see someone die 3 times back to back is something I can never forgive. In any case, this year has felt like one where most shows that came out feel like passion projects, and this seemed like it was one made by people who were really itching to tell a story. In any other year, I think Spy Family could easily make the top 2. It's a show that became the realest manga about the fakest family. It's overflowing with cuteness, comedy, action, and the kind of coincidences you can only see in a Mr. Bean movie. Spy Family masqueraded as a serious show about a spy dad, an assassin mom, and a sidekick daughter, but when the story started, we quickly found out that despite some of the events that may occur, it's a light-hearted family show. This show seemed to fire off hard in the way we know all Shonen Jump adaptations do. Spy Family was such a big hit that it brought out all the weirdos on the internet that were masquerading as normal people and exposed them. The cause of all this? Peanuts, Anya. Manga readers predicted the meme community would be taken by storm when the anime got released, and boy were they right. But for me, despite the sheer amount of Anya memes, it didn't make the show insufferable, it kinda made it funny in a way. While Anya was the queen of memes, Yor was the queen of my heart. Yor was taking over the cosplay community. I don't know how many accounts I followed during that period, but it's safe to say I found my weakness. Sadly, it didn't seem like Lloyd got shafted, unless he was getting shafted by the yaoi community. I'm so sorry. In the end, Spy Family managed to make us anime watchers feel refreshed. We found a family-oriented show that didn't involve everyone dying, and it's one show you can recommend to anyone and they're guaranteed to enjoy without any weird anime shit. Chainsaw Man may have been the most anticipated anime since its announcement, so much that it rivaled or maybe even surpassed the anticipation that some had for the return of one of the big 3 anime, Bleach. It's a story that once you get into, you finally understand why so many people couldn't wait for it and why author Tatsuki Fujimoto won back-to-back awards for it. Denji's a young man with a cute pet that's living life on the edge in poverty. He sells every possible thing he can and kills whatever he can for a slice of bread, all to get rid of the debt that was passed down to him. For most shows, this is how the first arc would go for sure while trying to set up different things, but Chainsaw Man does not conform to the norm. Before the first episode is even done, the whole debt collection plot is removed, Denji gains power, and he also gains the opportunity to live after his first death. And here comes Makima, a powerful woman who is introduced with the light shining on her akin to a portrait of Jesus. She comes in as the light of Denji's world, but you know the saying? Not all that glitters, blah blah. And after joining with her, he meets Aki and Power. Power is dumb as hell, funny as hell, and hot as hell. Fuck it, I'll take one for the team. I don't think anyone will be mad if Chainsaw Man was anime of the year because it does so many different things so unbelievably well. Be it light-hearted and heavy tones, amazing choreographed fight scenes, an interesting power system that serves to give intriguing fights that don't get stale due to repetition, and a story that can keep you on your toes because in one moment things could be fun and sexy and in the next everyone would be dead. You don't get the sense that the characters are amped by plot convenience because you wouldn't even have time to complete a thought like that before someone's head gets shot. Now Mappa for the past few years, and especially this one, has been collecting anime projects like the Infinity Stones on both hands, both feet, and but that didn't let them drop the quality of this adaptation. There's so much unbelievable detail that's evident in this show, from the 200 movie references that showcase Fujimoto's love for cinema, or the insane animation of hair and jackets and landscapes that brings everything to life. Chainsaw Man has everything people want and does everything they didn't think they needed till they saw it. Ending an anime has been one of the hardest things to do. Writers spend years introducing twists and turns, powers and abilities, new characters and developments of older ones, and sometimes they either get lost along the way or they get unlucky because the show gets cancelled. Mob Psycho first aired in 2016 and has had 3 seasons. Each season tackled a different theme and focused on different characters, but there was one thing that was overarching, and that was Mob's emotions. Mob was not only an impressionable young man at the start of the series, but he was also a very driven person. He never wanted to take the easy way out even though he could do it easily. But with each trial, we always see his emotions building up, be it to happiness or anger. Mob's emotions and responses were always a slow burn, and season 3 aimed to bring that full circle. As a man of many names, Kageyama Shigeo, Shige, Mob, Shiroti, Poison, Psycho Helmet, Shadow Leader, he was a guy that meant different things to different people. To some he was a leader, to others he was a close friend, and to some he was a power bank. But despite what he was really going through, and despite the fact that he was in need the most, he affected everyone around him positively. Almost every side character has a characteristic you can see them try to be better at. Teru, the gang leader, Ritsu, Tome, they're all living their lives the way they want, but in a way that's different from the start because of Mob. It says a lot about your series when, despite the world seemingly ending and the amazing showcase of powers, that the thing people would focus on were the interactions between Mob and 2 others, Tsubomi-chan and Reigen, the 2 characters that without no one played an insane part in who Mob became. Just by existing, Tsubomi made Mob conscious of the world and made him want to be something he felt would be worthy of her. And in time he realized he had to be a better person for himself. And just by listening to him as a kid, Reigen became a mentor whose words, albeit hyperbolic, were like gospel. Mob Psycho is an anime that makes you care. You get scared when you see Ritsu becoming a bad person, you worry that Reigen will one day break Mob and lose him for good, but then you begin to smile because you realize that Mob is not shallow and can accept anyone for who they are. I was really taken aback by the conclusion of this series in a way that would etch it into my memory for a while. And as it stands, Mob is part of the Hall of Fame of anime that were allowed to reach a conclusion and stuck the landing brilliantly.
900年を経て鼓動を取り戻し、90年を経て理智を取り戻し、9年を経て力を取り戻し、行くぞ。世界の終わる9日間だ。
Bleach is back and back during one of the most stacked seasons we've ever had. I don't think it's an easy task to ever explain what the return of Bleach meant to people whose lives it changed, or people who got into anime because of it. But it did change lives, along with others in the big 3. People's love for Bleach and a lot of other anime helped some of us find a community of people who love what we love. A community of sometimes stupid but intelligent people who understand the stories, themes, and symbolisms in the shows we're watching, and who are articulate enough to convey their feelings and thoughts to us. Bleach did so many things for so many people, but it didn't get the ending it deserved. There's so many speculations on what happened or if Kubo was rushed or not rushed, blah blah, but the loss of the Bleach anime did hit a lot of people hard who thought they would never get to see some of their favorite moments animated. I never thought I'd get to see Yuach show us the true power of a Quincy. Never thought I'd see how Ishin and Masaki met, or how Ichigo would finally hold his 2 swords. Never thought I'd finally get to experience Unohana's Bankai, or see Zanka no Tachi in this lifetime and feel the scorching hate through my screen, but I did. We did. And man, was this first core an amazing experience. The term movie quality has never been thrown around so much like it did for this 1000-year Blood War. The cinematography was just a constant flex by Studio Perio, doing things for throwaway moments that most anime would never get in their best scenes. Every shot was wallpaper worthy, every OST was infinitely repeatable, every line voiced by the actors was filled with so much passion and joy for reliving the characters. In addition to how beautiful it looked, the first part of the 1000-year Blood War arc was near perfect for me. Before all the Uno reverse cards being stacked on each other between Yuach and Aizen, before the disgrace of the Zero Division, before the X-axis turned from a cool character to a chicken, damn it Kubo first Tosin, and now Lile? Before that, this first part excelled at character writing, not only by getting us to know Yamamoto and Unohana better, but also Ichigo and his family. Everything But the Rain is probably my favorite arc or mini arc in Bleach. It has everything that I love shows for: comedy, lore, amazing designs, fights, romance, and it does all this in a neat little 2 to 3 episode bow. But in close second would be The Blade Is Me. Every time Ichigo goes into his vestige world, he seems to have a lot of philosophical conversations. I had initially thought White was a word wizard, but hearing old man Zangetsu give his little speech kinda made me emotional but hyped up at the same time. Hype is what Bleach excels at. We see power-ups a lot in anime and the power of friendship, but this arc takes kind of a different angle. It shows how humans can unlock their real potential when they're at peace with themselves. In Zangetsu's words, made everything with Ichigo's powers make complete sense to me, and it highlights one thing that Kubo is amazing for, and that's keeping characters relevant. People who lose or lost early in the story always had a way out, especially with Aizen and Kenpachi, both Shinigami whose characters were treated beautifully in this arc. It's way too much to talk about with the return for Bleach, but it did so many things right with this return. The revamp of the anime is enough to garner the respect it once had, and probably even more. This return for Bleach really just emphasized why we love this anime. And that is why for me, this is definitely anime of the year. Man, this was the longest video I've ever done, but it was also one of the most fun because of all the anime I got to talk about. From the few conversations I've had, I know shows like Made in Abyss and To Your Eternity should definitely be on that list, but I don't want to come up here and lie about something I haven't finished. So if you made it this far though, God bless you, and thank you all for making 2022 one of the best years for this channel. And here's to seeing you in the next one. Peace.